New year, new me, right? Are you planning to quit drinking as a part of your New Year's resolution? Or, if you're watching this video at any other part of the year, are you planning to quit drinking? In this video, I want to take a look at some of the risks associated with quitting alcohol and what you can do to minimize them. And even though there are some risks, drinking alcohol is pretty harmful, especially in larger amounts, so finding a way to at least reduce your drinking might be worth it. So what can you expect? What's the problem with quitting alcohol? One word: withdrawal. And you might be thinking, well, duh, but are you actually familiar with what's hiding behind the label withdrawal? Because unlike with many other drugs, suddenly stopping your alcohol consumption might have lasting consequences and in rare cases even kill you. And for alcohol, quitting cold turkey might not be the best idea. The withdrawal symptoms you might experience are based on many variables such as how often do you drink, how much do you drink, what's your sex, and other characteristics. Have you tried quitting before? Because if you have, your withdrawals might be worse than if this is your first attempt. And even if you think, I don't even drink that much, it's quite possible that you will feel some withdrawal symptoms and you will feel worse before you can feel better. Alcohol changes your physiology, and drinking alcohol can lead to physical dependence, which can manifest into alcohol withdrawal syndrome if you stop drinking suddenly. It changes the way your brain functions and the way your nervous system communicates. Many parts of your brain are affected, especially the GABAergic system. And we all know what's the role of the GABAergic system, right? It's to calm you down. So over time, your central nervous system gets used to alcohol and the compensations it has to make to overcome its effects. The body doesn't know that you decided to never have another drink again and doesn't stop compensating, and in many cases just can't adjust fast enough. Consequently, the brain remains hyperactive and hyperexcited, and unfortunately, that's not very exciting. The severity of alcohol withdrawal syndrome is dose-dependent, so people who drink more or who drink more often could experience more of these symptoms or could experience worse symptoms. Alcohol withdrawal syndrome symptoms can start about 6 hours after your last drink. Typically, the person will experience anxiety, shakes and shaky hands, sweating, vomiting, fast heart rate, and even fever. You might be familiar. It's unpleasant, but not a huge problem. After 12 to 48 hours, you might experience alcoholic hallucinosis, which is a more serious symptom. Auditory and visual hallucinations can last for days and they're usually pretty unpleasant. Alcoholic hallucinosis starts suddenly and generally will not kill you, but if you hallucinate, seek out medical attention. Some people might experience more severe symptoms such as seizures or delirium tremens. These symptoms start later, about 2 to 3 days after your last drink, and can be life-threatening. Up to 15% of people who experience these without any treatment die. With treatment, the chances get better. About 96 to 99% of people survive. Seizures are more common in people who are not going through their first detox, and it is hypothesized that each detox gets worse than the one before that. Delirium tremens sort of creeps up on you about 3 days after your last drink. But it's a trap, so even though you felt fine the first 3 days, it doesn't mean that you will not get it. And it can happen to heavy drinkers, so people who drink a lot. And by a lot, I mean about 10 standard drinks daily for at least a month. 10 standard drinks would be about 3 liters of beer, 2 liters of wine, or half a liter of distilled spirit. That is a lot, and it might sound a lot if you don't drink like that, but I've actually met a lot of people who drank like that and were more or less functioning, even though a bit unpleasant to deal with. Delirium tremens is a state of confusion with tremors and sweating and horrible nightmares and agitation. Hallucinations can be present, all of them visual, auditory, even tactile, including the fun ones you probably know from film, like formication, which is a feeling that something crawls on you. The symptoms tend to be worse at night, and most common ways delirium tremens kills you include respiratory failure and cardiac arrhythmias. But is it treatable? Well, alcohol withdrawal syndrome and its more severe symptoms such as delirium tremens are the reason why if you check into a hospital to detox or any other specialized facility, they will probably keep you on benzos. Or at least in Czechia they do. But of course, just because they do it doesn't mean that you should do it at home. So if you're planning to quit drinking, maybe discuss with your doctor and they will tell you something. Benzos themselves can be dangerous, and even if you read up on it on the internet and you think I know everything, it's quite possible that you miss something. But if not prevented, alcohol withdrawal syndrome can be treated in the ICU. Antipsychotics and anticonvulsants can be prescribed, although it seems that anticonvulsants instead of benzos are not really effective. People dependent on alcohol can be deficient in various nutrients and vitamins, especially if they replace their nutrition with alcohol and cigarettes. Thiamine, or vitamin B1, is recommended and can be given in an IV drip. Technically, you can supplement yourself in tablets, but they're not as effective, and in some cases, the IV drip is better. And I've heard many people that delirium tremens can be treated with alcohol, but there doesn't seem to be enough supporting evidence. And of course, not everyone who quits alcohol needs to be treated for alcohol withdrawal syndrome. At least 2 of these diagnostic criteria must be met: increased hand tremor, insomnia, nausea or vomiting, transient hallucinations, auditory, visual or tactile, psychomotor agitation, anxiety, generalized tonic-clonic seizures, and autonomic instability. And the good news is that after a week, you should start feeling better. The bad news is that this is only the beginning of your journey to sobriety. Once you're out of the water, you might face protracted withdrawal or post-acute withdrawal syndrome, which can take months or even a year to clear. Symptoms include cravings, anhedonia, mood changes, clouded senses, problems with concentration and thinking, decreased sex drive, irritability, hostility, disorientation, nausea, vomiting, headaches, fatigue, and insomnia. Sleep studies suggest that problems with sleep can last for up to 3 years after giving up alcohol. And as you can imagine, facing these challenges might make the affected person very uncomfortable and even regret their decision to stop drinking. There's this expectation that if you stop drinking, you will feel better. And you will probably, but it could take years, and there's this period where you just feel like shit, nothing is changing, and it kind of gives room to regret because it's not getting better. The time range to truly feel better is much wider than people expect. And it is important to support people not only the months after they stop drinking, but the years. And it's the months that go by without getting better that kind of break a person. There's always a risk of relapse. Feeling shite for months without any hope that you will feel better is mind-breaking. But hey, if you make it, you will feel better. And I don't want this video to sound like don't quit alcohol, you will feel like shit for years and you might die, because there are many benefits to reducing drinking or quitting drinking altogether. Talking about the benefits of quitting alcohol is out of the scope of this video, but let's just have this quick section here so we know it's worth it. You're less likely to injure yourself or other people when sober. Your physical health will get better, your body will thank you. Your organs will rest from processing a known poison and a carcinogen. The liver has an incredible regeneration ability. Your skin should look healthier and you might lose some weight, as alcohol is pretty high in calories and at the same time lowers your inhibition. And your brain is able to recover to some degree, although there is always risk for permanent damage. And people around you might actually prefer it when you're sober, unless it's your drinking buddies, I guess. It's quite possible that not everyone will be happy, but people who have your best interests in mind will. Your sleep should get better and your immune system should work as intended. Overall, there are many benefits to quitting alcohol, so it is worth the struggle and the problems you might face in the beginning and the middle. And also you might save money. Alcohol can get pretty expensive. Do I have any recommendations? Well, obviously, in this section I can only cover like the most generic advice ever. It's definitely not going to be tailored to your needs. But let's take a look at some tips I put together. As I've said before, if you drink daily or if you binge drink several times a week, you should consult with a doctor or someone who specializes in addiction. Quitting alcohol is way safer if you have access to medical care and meds. Plus, and I know this doesn't apply globally and not all doctors are all that supportive, but you might get some support. And if you can't do this under medical supervision, don't quit cold turkey. Try to cut down first. And I know this can be incredibly difficult, especially since alcohol lowers your self-control and your inhibitions, so you might slip and drink more than you planned. Hopefully you have someone who will help you go through this, and if you don't, well, that's unfortunate, but it's not the end of your journey. It only means that you have it harder. It doesn't make it impossible. Do you have any alternatives? Like maybe a low-threshold treatment center or outreach programs in your area? These services usually focus on people who are addicted to drugs, but the people who work there, well, they usually work there because they believe in the mission, and you'd at least have someone to talk to, or they could give you tips and contacts for other services. Do you have AA meetings in your area? I think if you're not disruptive, you can attend their meetings under influence. And the meetings might be helpful even if you're not into the whole higher power thing. And if you can't attend meetings in your area, there are some online meetings, so you could look up some of these. And expect that you will feel worse. I mean, you could feel better, but most people feel worse, especially in the beginning. And for some people, it takes years to fix the damage that they've done to their body. But you will feel better, eventually. And unfortunately, eventually might be years in the future. But still, I'm rooting for you. You can do this. So there you have it. By no means am I saying, don't stop drinking, it's dangerous. Quitting drinking can be great. It has many benefits, but it also comes with some risks. But if you go through it, it can change your life for the better. Just be patient and be prepared for pain. And if you know someone who's going through this, give them support. It's really hard. And if you like mobile puzzle games, consider trying my game. It's called Mushroom Match and it's a cottagecore inspired game for Android and iOS. I'll leave links in the video description. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye!